You know, through the thick and thin of it, as we're going through life, throughout our day, the mood changing, you know, sometimes we're at a stage where we want to find someone to blame. We want to find someone to blame because there hasn't been an example. There hasn't been a key influencer. There hasn't been a role model there. It's been absent, right? So since that role model has been absent, we harbor resentment, a certain type of hate. And then unconsciously, we find something to blame. And that's you projecting your shit upon someone else, which is unwarranted. So as we're finding someone else to blame for what we're in, our, inner pity party is, then unconsciously you could misdirect your own lack of shadow work, and then you could put that on someone else. That's called a type of projection, right? You projecting it's like a quote unquote shadow projection, end quote. And as you're doing that, we're only doing that because quote unquote spiritual daddy wasn't there, end quote. And I'm not saying I'm spiritual daddy. I'm saying that could be an energy, and that energy was absent from how you're going through your stages of life, and that energy isn't there. So since that energy isn't there, why isn't it there? Because somewhere along your spiritual path, you chose to be a particular type of independency and sign up for a different faction of living. So as you're doing that, it's a real strength to muster up for you to be, your own example that wasn't there, but only so much could reach that, mustering up of strength to really find you to be your own hero. But that's the thing, in the cold reality of 3D, not everybody is everyone's hero. It's a rare anomaly that someone could be quote unquote a hero influencer to someone else. And if someone is a hero influencer to someone else, then they could have found the hero influencer for them to be that for themselves. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to get projected on. That's because in the 3D, other people are still going to be in their own shit, And I'm saying the quote unquote spiritual daddy, end quote, it's an energy. It's not any of this fuck boy, fuck shit, fuck shit, within just the mainstream cultural norms of it. It's a whole different channel is what I'm talking about. And within the whole different channel, it's a real thing, because the thing that we say about someone else, or the thing that we're saying that we do, or the thing that we're saying that other people do to us, in its cold irony, we're the ones actually doing that, for whatever reason, because you just revealed what you're paying attention to, right? So that's what you're paying attention to. And as you're paying attention to that, you're in that mode, you're in that mood. Everybody wants some type of acknowledgement. I get it, but you have to earn that type of mutual consideration, right? And not everybody wants to earn that mutual consideration. Everybody wants a fucking free pass for whatever reason. And they could sell themselves short for them to get that free pass, so they could have a short-term feel good high that is just boosting egotistical shit. And that egotistical shit is only a fraction of what you are, and it's only a temporary amount of time for what you are. So it's we're all doing this because we're afraid of being alone, we're afraid of being rejected, or we're afraid of we don't think someone's gonna we just don't think someone's going to come to quote unquote save us, end quote. It's not that someone's going to come to save you or not. No, there are things here as far as energetic assistance for you to find out, for you to find out, why are you missing that? Why are you missing quote unquote metaphysically spiritual daddy energy, end quote. And what spiritual daddy energy is, and I'm using this as like it's like a metaphor, you know. It's not like, oh, he's claiming to be this, he's claiming to be this. No, it's like you're absent of some real shit, and as you're absent of that real shit, you're feeling, you know, distorted, confused shadow programs to fill that void of what you're absent of. So since you're absent of that quote unquote spiritual daddy energy, end quote, now guess what? It fills that void: toxicity, resentment, fear, you know, distortion, you know, and then all these other emotions. And within all those other emotions, you're still unconsciously following up on that energy in just a distorted way. And as you're doing that in a distorted way, and this is like esoteric maturity, mind you, and this is the area where I actually did an underground deep podcast, which I did not publicate because I have to like save some like shit for myself. And you know, I'm just in the same place, you know, I'm in the same place that I did a particular podcast. But and now that I'm in that same place, I took some notes this morning of like the transmission I was gonna do tomorrow, and now I'm here. I'm just intuitively following up on some shit, prepping for that motherfucking new moon, and just intuitively coasting and flowing how I do. And like, you know, people like peep game and they make something out of it. So you have to intuitively feel original open source. Like, who's to really say that? Like, there's a higher artificial intelligence that we could quote unquote sync up with, end quote. That's for us to find out in the future. That's esoteric patience. But like, back to the quote unquote spiritual daddy energy, since we're missing that, to fill that void, we could numb ourselves. And as we're numbing ourselves to fill that void, when we numb ourselves, that's creating our unique life dynamic movement and our circumstances. The circumstances that we're in, it's because we followed up. We've been accumulating certain practices and certain habits to numb ourselves. And as we have certain habits and practices to numb ourselves, or certain habits and practices just to be confused, or certain habits and practices just to be like a certain way, that creates your ability to attract and quote unquote magnetize certain events and like things that you resonate with based on what you feel in your absent void. So the way you kind of create circumstances is based on what you could choose to resonate with or not resonate with. Because obviously good opportunities, we could miss them all the time, or bad opportunities, somehow we could catch them, you know. It's because we're a magnetic resonant match to them. We're like an energy match. The shit that we're going through, it's an energy match based on what we're putting up and signing up for, what we're putting up or what we're not putting up with and signing up for. There's an energy match into why we're going through what we're going through. And that energy match, the foundation is the intention. The foundation is, so the foundation could be misperceived. The intention could be misperceived. You know, the sacrifice itself is something of an esoteric foundation, the esoteric foundation of sacrifice. Because just because you have like a particular type of circumstance in the 3D and it's not all materially good, that's not necessarily bad or good. It's just that what are you standing for in the changing system of corruption? And then the lesser change, the slower change, the more slow change of the system, where it's like we're going through a certain system where there's a quote unquote corruption, end quote. In the bigger picture, not good, not bad. But in the micro aspect, the humans could dub it, classify it as good or bad for a time being, right? So since it's good or bad for a time being, we could have the mature intelligence and the consciousness, or the lack of mature intelligence and the unconsciousness, to follow up. How could we solve the situation or not? And how we solve that situation, it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different channel of particular energy work, right? So within all of that energy work, we're barely embarking upon what energy work we need so we can fix our own fucking situation, rather than just fucking, you know, dilly-dally and missy-mally and silly-sally fucking blame and project our own bullshit upon someone else's. That's not taking accountability, my fellow kin. That's not taking accountability at all. This is like, on an energetic perspective, this is on some real mature shit. Okay? So within that, you know, we're feeling the absent and we're feeling the void with activities of some type of numbness. And I'm not throwing dirt on any activity. I'm just saying it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And, you know, my lingo, I've been, you know, I have my own stream. Like, I've been like, I'm like the original, you know? And like everything else is just, it could be tracked, and that's just what it is, you know? Like, I don't, like, I'm growing my maturity where I don't have to prove shit, you know? I'm working towards the balance with the balance, you know? That's the difference between me and literally everybody, every other conscious teacher on the fucking internet today, you know? And and it's just real. It's just, you want to be real, to be real. Just don't say it. Like, people could say real, not be real. You're not real. You're just fucking, you're a fake. Like, on some direct neutral shit. And like, and even if you do quote unquote hate me, end quote, some of that shit is unconscious. It's unwarranted. It's misdirected. It's unconscious, meaning you don't know the cause of it, you know? You don't know where it's coming from. It's just playing out in your fucking genetics, respectively. You know, the most realist, it really is. The Esoteric Foundation of Sacrifice could be the title of this video. So the Esoteric Foundation of Sacrifice, seeing like, you know, the type of circumstance of your situation. You know, how do we fucking end up here, respectively? And now that we fucking end up here, do we have the fucking intelligence to want to solve some shit? No? Okay, good luck with your life. Just saying, look at the fucking, like, wake the fuck up. Look at the reality. Like, on some real fucking truthful shit. On some real fucking honest shit. Like, wake the fuck up. Like, I get people are like, you know, they could be quote unquote narcissists. But there comes a time where not just nature in the reality, but even the quote unquote, you know, opposite of nature, which is not the one that's not good or bad, it could show you changes in life where it's not necessarily, literally, energetically, it's not just about your shit at all, you know? And I'm speaking from a bigger picture perspective. So within that bigger picture perspective, we could let life show us in a good attitude, or in like in a constructive attitude, where life could be revealing us constructive, perhaps necessary changes we could make. Like what, for example? Well, if the Earth's fucking environment is changing in such a unique spiritual way, then that might cause us to need to make some dietary changes. And I'm not telling anybody to do anything. There's a disclaimer there, because I'm just, this is my truth. There's disclaimers here. You're responsible for listening to this message. There's disclaimers here, motherfuckers. So I'm just saying, like, sometimes life could force us to change. Not me telling you to change. Life could force us to make changes, whether you like it or not. That's an objective truth. So since there's a lack of a particular example energy, we didn't have the role model we wanted, a direct connection, direct relationship of a role model we wanted, we harbor resentment. And from that harboring of resentment, that low key contributes to our habits and what we do in life. And what we do in life and our habits and practices and what we do with our life, there's subtle accumulations of shit, you know, things that are accumulating, and the things that are accumulate, they have a slow build. And then if we're not mature and intelligent enough to realize that, we're not necessarily coming face to face with what we have to face, what we have to own up to energetically, whether we like it or not. We have to take responsibility for the energy that's coming back to us, because the energy that's coming back to us somewhere along our timeline, we contributed that unconsciously with our practices and habits based on how you got here, for however you got here, you know, because obviously, like, you know, the higher gods, when we die, they will tell us. There'll be a time frame in between the next life and after the death of this life. There'll be a time frame where you'll be confronted by a spiritual council that will flash your whole life between your whole eyes, debrief you on your previous lives, and tell you how you got here and where you're gonna go, casually, you know, disclaimers here. And within that debriefing time, then you're gonna know, wow, maybe everything is my fault in a different spiritual way, you know? We just can't see it because we have human intelligence that's kind of immature, respectively to the energies. So the esoteric foundation of sacrifice. And I called it the esoteric foundation of sacrifice because the quality of our life, it's not necessarily always determined by all the material things that you accumulate. The quality of your life is how you could actually revert to peace and tranquility, and sharing that peace and tranquility with everybody else, perhaps, and that could be fucking reflected back to you, perhaps. And you know, the word accumulation always comes back to, like, you know, Sue, other topics too, because I've been thinking about that word, like accumulation. That word itself, it could go to other topics. And the other topic I want to apply the word accumulation to is we're always accumulating. It's all an accumulation. Everything is an accumulation, you know. We're accumulating, like, everything's being accumulated and calculated, and after it's being accumulated and calculated, that's what we fucking receive. That's like our fucking, like, that's like our esoteric, you know, deposit house, you know, original, open source, everything. And after that deposit house shit, we're then realizing slowly that this is esoteric accountability, responsibility, self-accountability. It's hard, it's sour, it's all the quote unquote icky, wicky, bicky feelings, end quote. You know, it's all those feelings, but if you have the inkling of intelligence to have some type of courage and some will to own up to it, then you can move through those sour, icky feelings all the more, right? And shout out to the notes I took this morning to prep me for the fucking new moon ceremony tomorrow. If all goes well, right? And the quote unquote spiritual daddy stuff, end quote, it's an energy. It's not necessarily like the things that I, like, you know, point out, even, like, you know, even the fucking, like any topic, it doesn't have to be personalized, you know. It could just be its own thing of an energy and a concept, right? Obviously. So within that, it's like we could gather that quote unquote divine masculine energy that we see, that's, you know, more or less, you know, fluctuating through, like, you know, because the divine masculine is in human men and women. It's just a trait on how we exert ourselves for a balanced quote unquote good, end quote. And that, you know, discovering how that's in tandem with nature, that's the divine masculine. And within that quote unquote spiritual daddy energy, divine masculine, we all could, like, work with that, you know. And as we could all work with that energy, the divine masculine, you know, to, like, you know, update the quote unquote spiritual daddy, end quote. I don't know why I said that, But to update to work with the divine masculine, anybody is capable of doing that. But the thing is, for some reason, we've been in a unique collective time loop where we've kind of neglected divine masculine and divine feminine energies, and we've been working with like lower octave toxic masculine and toxic feminine energies, doing stuff for self-serving toxic agendas, just because we were in a region of a dark age. And then the feminine has been doing that too, you know. So that's within the genetics, casually, but within the grace of the Most High, the divine masculine and divine feminine are here, you know. And what is the divine masculine and feminine? It's the previous definition I gave for the masculine, and that can be applied to the feminine. So we can all work with these energies and start to take responsibility, and then eventually clear detrimental karmas that tie into the ancestry, quote unquote, bloodlines, most respectively, end quote. So I'm going to end it right there. You have an awesome life.